Hello there, this is Fiona, host and main GM for What Am I Rolling, a twice-monthly RPG one-shot podcast. This is a bonus Q&A episode to tide us over to the next one-shot, and it is indeed a very special Q&A. As this week I had the absolute pleasure of interviewing Wingshan Huntley, the founder of Twisted Spire and creator of Sirens Oath Tides Turning, a revenge-driven, eco-fantasy, mermaid coven one-shot TTRPG. Sirens Oath blends storytelling, emotion, and memories all into one game. Players are invited to embody mermaid witches, wield hand-cast miniatures as talismanic anchors, and unleash collective fury in a descent into eco-grief, myth-making, and righteous retribution. Across 3 rites, remembering, becoming, and deciding, players will weave tales of love, vengeance, and transformation. In the end, only the players will know if they choose healing, destruction, or discord, and then the consequences which come with each of those actions for the rest of the world. It was an absolute delight to interview Wingshan about her work as an artist and a storyteller, and her first steps into developing a tabletop RPG. I really love the concept behind Sirens Oath. You have femme rage, rituals, emotionally rich roleplay, just sign me up instantly. I also like how the main game mechanic revolves around secret words, how the players have to coax and maybe manipulate each other into saying certain phrases without revealing them. Really fun, I love that kind of thing. Sirens Oath Tides Turning is currently funding on GameFound, and there's a few more days left to support it, so if it sounds right up your street, please go and check it out. I'll put a link to the crowdfunding campaign, Wingshan's work, and all the relevant links in this episode's show notes. So, my wonderful guest, could you introduce yourself for our wonderful audience? Who are you and what do you do?
Hi Fiona, I am Wingshan. I'm based in Nottingham, UK, which is the home of wargaming, tabletop gaming, the lead belt. I am an artist, a curator and practicing witch, and I'm now delving into games design, which is a super exciting journey. And my first game is called Sirens Oath, and it's launching with a new brand called Twisted Spire, which is sits side by side with Warp Miniatures, which is the family-run games company that I'm part of.
Incredible. Oh, I am delighted to have you on, Wingshan. My always go-to question is, what's your origin story with tabletop gaming? Have you been a player? How did you start in this hobby?
Yeah, so this is a story that I remembered a few weeks ago, and it's great because I get to rehash it at interviews,
yes,
which is wonderful. But the story is my mum was painting Warhammer the night before I was born.
No way.
Which I absolutely love. I think it was a hobby that was picked up by my brother and kind of abandoned, and then she kind of got into it, which was great. And then I think I was born, and then all of that went away because new baby.
Yes.
And it wasn't until fast forward 15 years and I go to your friendly local game store, which was called Mondo Comico in Nottingham. Sadly, it's not there anymore. But that's where I first played Dungeons and Dragons and fell in love with, the miniatures, the game, the role play. I love drama. I love performing. I love storytelling.
Yeah.
And then I met my husband, and he had miniatures. So he's a sculptor first and foremost, so also an artist. And yeah, he's just kind of the nature of the business is he just brings in the whole family. So his mum and dad are involved, and yeah, now I am. But I was also like, there's a real gap in this market, specifically with miniature wargaming, for diverse, particularly femme-led narratives. And so I was like, let's do something about that. So here I am today.
Amazing. That's so cool. So hang on, lots to unpack, which I love. So let's talk about the tabletop stuff briefly then. So you started with D&D. Is it always sort of high fantasy that you sort of tend towards, or is it just any kind of genre? Because I appreciate obviously what we're here to talk about today is very different to what people would expect for D&D, because obviously I know it's not a D&D system, and also the themes of it maybe are not at odds, it's not the word, but different for people who are coming from a traditional high fantasy background.
Yeah, I am such a high fantasy girly. I mean, I also thought, who's the audience? And I always thought I'm a romantasy girly as well. I'm all about Akhtar and all the fairy smut. I love fairies. I love witches. I love mermaids. I love unicorns. I love all of those things. So yeah, high fantasy is my shtick. And I think everything I do will be high fantasy. I mean, I LARP now as well.
Yeah.
So it's all within that world and adjacent. So yes, it has always been high fantasy. And like many other people, D&D is that gateway. But D&D is really complicated. Like D&D is like a difficult game, but Warhammer is really difficult.
Yes.
I love Warhammer. I love the miniatures. I can't get my head around the rules. I'm all about kind of the artwork. And for me, games are a tool to world build, to create those worlds. And I wouldn't say that I am a crunchy kind of gal. I'm working on my rule mechanic skills, but the wonderful thing about this game is that I was working with a brilliant rules writer, Evie Moriarty, who currently works for Modifius, writing their rules, and they were brilliant at helping me put my foot in and how we do this. But the nature of the game itself isn't crunchy. It's all about storytelling, conversation.
Trust me, you've come to the right podcast to be interviewed on, because I too struggle with the crunch. We a long time ago played the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, and recently we looked at the old world RPG that's just come out, and it's a lot simplified there, but there is definitely, I have myself, because I am not au fait with all the Warhammer stuff. I've played in a couple of actual plays using different rule sets, and instantly I have a certain view of it where I go, ooh, I don't necessarily know if it's a place for me, but I love the fact that you're saying it kind of doesn't matter, as long as, if you love the art and love the story, you kind of do whatever you want. And ultimately, that's what we do in actual plays anyway. The rules are there as a guideline to help us go. But it's so interesting, because in my head, I'm just going for me, Warhammer, and I know it's very stereotypical, but it's just big tables, lots of D6s, and then looking around with hands on hips, staring at them, going I think you've won. That's what I assume is Warhammer to a T. And I know it's a much more, not complex, but a little bit more nuanced than that. But I just appreciated your talk on the art and the building. It's just storytelling, which is definitely something we do here. For
sure. And also I think one of the games that we have with Warp Miniatures is called Arcworld. And that's a fantasy skirmish game. It's very whimsical. It's very inspired by Terry Pratchett. It's
amazing.
Wizards, Dark Lords, Gremlins, our latest little silly guy faction. And that's a really nice palate cleanser for the hardcore Warhammer grimdark, big game, crunchy people. And then for people who are more RPG, it's this is an introduction to miniatures games, because it is skirmish. There's 8 models that you can really put time and effort into creating these character arcs. We have a rule system that is really simple. It's really community led as well. So it's all free PDF online, and then a small cool rule book. And we've got a mechanic called narrative feat system, where you can do anything within the game or the skirmish. You and your opponent or other player basically has to agree whether that's an easy feat, a medium feat, or a difficult feat, and then that determines how many dice you roll and how you get there. And we even have something called the Gentlefolks Code of Conduct. It's an agreement. It's either something. It's like a code of conduct at the beginning of the rules, and it's basically don't be a dick.
I like that.
It's about fun at the end of the day. It is a strategy game, but it's with Arcworld, but it also is all about having good-natured fun, and people even play with their kids and family, and that is the space that we want to be in through Warp Miniatures and Twisted Spire. We want to make games that are accessible, that are friendly, that are about imagination, that are ultimately really fun and maybe a bit more meaningful.
100%. Yeah, I love the idea of games being more accessible, because stories are accessible. And if we tell the same stories over with the same groups of people, it can get the same. Again, not always, but it's nice to be able to get other people in who maybe don't think they are storytellers, or I don't know if this is for me, but giving them the tools to get into the game and go wow, that I didn't think I could do that, and then maybe proceed onwards. I'm an improviser and I teach a little bit, and it's trying to get, people who don't think they're not going to be on stage or anything like that, but, people who are working in offices, just be able to open their minds and be like, and make mistakes, and it's just a delight to see people go, oh, that was really fun. It was very scary. I don't want to do it again, but I know I could do that, and given that confidence, which I really love. Just to cycle back then, because obviously you said your sort of origin story of your mother painting before you were born. Like, so have you always? I know, and you said you were an artist yourself. Were you painting Warhammer stuff and making sculpts all the way up until you got into RPGs then as well?
No, so like that origin story of my mum painting Warhammer, she didn't pass that on, unfortunately.
So selfish.
So yeah, I know, right? I've always been creative, and I've had like my silly little creative hobbies that are very fleeting and go from one thing to the next. And I've always been nervous about painting miniatures. So I love miniatures when I was doing D&D and RPGs, but I would like have these quite badly painted or commercially kind of, the ones you get in the shop. And this is something that I'm also trying to address with Twispire, because speaking about accessible, friendly rules, I also want to create accessible, beginner-friendly miniatures. So that is very much the intention behind creating the sculpts, which is really wonderful that I see the miniature through a miniature sculptor's lens because of my husband makes everything. So I might be like, no, I want her to be more dynamic. I want her to have all this detail. And he's literally like, that will be really difficult to paint. And in the miniatures sphere at the moment, there's so many amazing things going on. But with the Rise digital sculpting, you can go really, really, really deep into the detail. And actually, when they're manufactured, that's really hard, and those details don't come out very well.
I'm just thinking to my own pile of grey in the other room, and a lot of the times it's so interesting. I've just talked about like not making mistakes, but my God, there's some times where I'm like crunch time, and again getting older, my hands are shaking a little bit, and there's just trying to get the eyes right, stuff like that. But ultimately, like something I've been doing is because I've just moved. I have a group of my own girlies here who aren't TTRPG; they're Magic the Gathering players. And they are like the partners of our partners, and we have craft days, and so they'll bring over like knitting and stuff like that. And then last time I brought over these minis, and we sat there for 12 hours. Our backs hurt. We were talking about injuries and stuff off recording, and they loved it. And because I was like, don't worry about making mistakes. Like, I've got plenty of paints, and like I've got so many of these things. I want you to have fun. And they just went to ham on it, and they had such a good time that they've been asking when can we do it again. And that's the thing. It's just encouraging people just to have a go, and then you have it, because it's because we're always going to compare ourselves. I know the social media of it's like, look at these cool things, and like, yes, they've been painting for 15 years professionally. It is that, but equally I have seen like on Instagram there's a lot more certainly younger femme presenting I say kids, that's what I mean, but 8 to 10-year-olds who are painting because their parents paint, and then they're like doing their own little, again, I don't know how insidious it is, like, my own TikTok, and they've got like thousands of followers, but it seems like great. They're having fun. They're showing some dry brushing technique, and it's like, here's an orc that's completely in pink. You're like, yeah, that was really brilliant. It's better than what I could do,
There's so many hacks out there. And, like I brought my friends over. I decided to start a little bit of a midsummer hobby coven this summer. So I had my friends around. We had a gorgeous picnic. I laid out the miniatures that were all primed and ready. And they had a great time. Al fresco mini painting. It was
so good. I love that.
Yeah, but one of the things I want to do actually is to build that hobby coven into like creating a Discord and community around the miniatures and games that we create. So absolutely watch this space because it's a whole thing. Like I do want to start doing more painting tutorials, even though I still consider myself very much a beginner. But that's the point. I mean, another thing about the miniatures is we try as much as possible for them to come in one piece. So it's not a million pieces sticking together and fiddly and things breaking off. really try to just, here it is, you can just prime it, get ready, and do it. And I also feel so, my background also as a practicing witch, I love the idea of a miniature as a talisman. And it's
Yes.
something you focus intention and energy on. So that's something that I'm hoping to explore a bit more, maybe in a video series of how to bring magic into your painting process.
I love that. And yeah, well, what a perfect time to sort of move over then to Sirens Oath, if that's okay. So for those people who is the first time they're hearing you, or like, what the heck is Sirens Oath? What is it, and how does it stand out from other RPGs that are out there currently?
Yeah, so I really love how games can hold space for transformation. There's really something powerful about gathering with others to like enact new roles, speak from unfamiliar places, and explore difficult or beautiful truths through play. And I really want to do that with Sirens Oath. So Sirens Oath Tides Turning is a one-shot, short form role-playing game for 3 to 5 players. You play a coven of mermaid witches that decides the fate of this corrupt, crumbling city. It's a game built around conversation, emotion, and collective decision-making. There's no games master. You all play. They're rich prompts, miniatures that kind of help you get into the identity, the vibe of the characters. It's a game that invites players to show up fully with their imagination and tenderness and rage. It's very intimate, and I think quite different from what most people expect, specifically from a miniatures-based game.
100%. When I read it, I was like, wow, it's so nice to have a game that is designed for a one-shot. A lot of what things that you could do this as a one-shot don't happen to be it, because, it is. But I like how focused it is and having everyone with their intentions and stuff. And yeah, it feels very much like what you said, like having this almost like ritualistic cloth. And then, like you said, the talismans. I signals to me, like I was like, yeah, because then you're present, you're here with your other coven mates and your witches, just to, how do you progress through the story? Because I think often story prompt games, they're definitely more and more, I say the word in fashion, that's not what I mean, but they're becoming more popular as an easy way that access in. But also they could tell some really cool, specific stories that maybe we wouldn't do normally. And here, obviously, it's you got those themes of environmental disaster, climate change, and that rage you were talking about as from a sort of feminine perspective. But obviously, anyone could be anyone in these sort of games anyway. So how did you go about it? Like, because obviously it's got beautiful artwork. I know, as you said before, you wrote this game with Evie Moriarty. Where did you start? Was it just like, I know it has to end up here? Because could you go through like what the overview of this game is?
Yeah, so the beautiful illustrations are by a wonderful local artist called Kim Thompson, absolutely incredible artist. And yeah, it started from the concept that I made for well, it wasn't it was an installation artwork for an exhibition that I was commissioned to do a couple of years ago. So that was called Names of Storms to Come. I was really fascinated by the fact that we almost ritualistically every year, the observatory office in whatever country you're in, name storms that are going to be, renames them from A to Z, and it's very gendered. It goes male, female. Fascinating, because that's like summoning the storm. So we're summoning our own destruction, our own disaster. And I just thought how wonderful to think about this mermaid as a representative of Mother Nature, who's just absolutely fed up of how humans have messed up the world. So why don't we just kind of relinquish our control of nature and let it take over? And this mermaid kind of, because we're doing it anyway. We're summoning, naming, we're bringing
into,
and the idea of heavy weights of human intervention, mermaid intervention. What can we change? So conceptually, that is where it started. I'm also really, really interested in, particularly in fantasy, and as a femme person, thinking about the idea of the monstrous feminine, which is a term coined by Barbara Creed. And she argues that horror makes monsters out of women, especially when they transgress societal norms, and that the kind of monstrous feminine, it reflects patriarchal society, fears of women, bodies, sexuality, power to give life, and their power to destroy. And I love that. I love kind of reclaiming that. As you know, my favorite horror genre is the good for her horror genre. So that is something that I wanted to explore. So I am all about, I'm like, my husband calls me like vibe mistress. Like which is kind of like, it's a little bit more ephemeral than like, I do this, I do that. I'm an artist, I do make, my drawing skills are a bit rusty, but I'm also a curator.
Yes.
As my background. And I love providing a platform to bring other artists, to bring other voices on board. So yeah, it's the vibe. So I was like, I've got this idea for a world. I want to build it. I want to explore these themes of, you know, what a lot of us are feeling in the world, which is disenchantment, is a hopelessness, is an anger. And whether that's about society and beyond, or whether it's of like horrible boys who are dating your best friends, like this is a great cathartic way to release those emotions, but also, you know, possibly think about gameplay as a way of exploring futures, various futures. Playing with purpose is my favorite kind of gameplay.
Oh, I love that. What a great sort of tag to play with purpose and to make meaning with your stories. I feel like, yeah, as you're saying, like, it's what do you do when you're presented with the opportunity and the power to rewrite history in such an aggressive action? Like you said, you are these witches, mermaid witches, who have a choice to make at the end of the game. And do you take it? But it's not so simple if you just lay out the facts like it's been really rubbish, you know, everything's going to shit. Do you change it? Yes. It's not as simple as that, because what I love is that you have this sort of ritualistic sort of storytelling thing where each player goes round and starts off like who they were before they became witches. And then, like their transition into that. And then the final thing is like, do you do it? So it's actually on the person themselves rather than this nebulous problem. And it really spoke to me about like, maybe I think it is in here as well, like the themes of it, but like just recycling in general, right? That idea of like, it's such a big problem. Like, well, what's my little bottle bank thing going to do? But actually it's supposed to appeal to you. It's supposed to ground to you and relate. Like if we're all in this, you know, we can become this wall, this force to change. And as you said, like right now in the world, we kind of need that. And it feels kind of hopeless in some cases where you're like, am I the only one that cares about this? Is it just futile? But actually, if we make the action together, like as a conscious action and think about all the options and knowing that this is the best, you could get such a really powerful and sort of like, I don't know if catharsis is the right word for it, but that's sort of like, this feels right. And then just taking that experience and being able to apply it to other world things and just get yourself grounded. So that's how I saw it when I was reading this through. I was like, wow, you could really have a really interesting conversation in the safe boundaries of this sort of fictional world, which you can decide to save or to condemn.
Yeah, it's not that easy. The game actually kind of leans you more to destroy. So the three options are destroy, heal, or discord. And I wanted to make it, myself and Evie wanted to build a game where the vengeful destruction option was fun and easy and cathartic. If you chose heal, all that means is that the ritual doesn't go ahead. So you have 3 cauldron miniatures, which are the what you replace when it's activated. The destroy is an inspiration from the tower card, where it's the tower kind of crumbling down, but like these blue waves kind of like bringing it down. Heal one is you've just chosen not to go ahead with drowning the city. What comes next is the hard, long, difficult part. So acts of restoration is more noble, but it's difficult, it's hard. And the final option is discord, which that means if essentially the ritual doesn't work, so either there's a tie or you don't get enough moves to the center of the ritual circle, then discord happens. So what happens then narratively is you, as the witches at the coven, perform the ritual, but the magic senses that you're not aligned. Because yes, it is about those individual choices, but it's about that collective power. It's about, I'm obsessed with the idea of the coven as this idea of community, kind of this alternative idea of self-care being like the more neoliberal avocado sister of the coven, which is very much about we have responsibility to each other and we need to be unified. So discord is the magic senses you're not aligned, and the ritual goes ahead, and actually what happens is you throw the world into chaos. And I am working on ideas for what's next. Discord in the world is actually going to be the canonical ending / beginning of the next phase of Sirens Oath.
Ooh, I love that. That's so cool. The other things I picked up whilst reading it, again, that realistic phrase of like, when you pass your turn, you say the phrase, my tale is told in the tide's turn. And again, I like that. We often talk about in role-playing games the idea of the magic circle, and I know obviously in Coven and witches also do the same thing of like everything we do here is safe, but it just felt like a very cool thing to then pass on to your next players to have this ritualistic phase, because it feels again almost storybook as well. You're reading almost like if you're reading these notes or letters from people, and then it's like, and then the next page is turned, and so we leave that behind and we transition to the next player. And on top of that, obviously the main mechanic, which I obviously love, is this idea of secret words, so that when people, during each of the three phases, or the first two phases, they get to talk about, so if we take for example the first phase of who they were before they became who they are now, the players will do sort of a monologue and sort of talk about their experiences almost sort of like from their perspective of who they are. And the other players then ask questions about it in the hopes that they will say certain secret words that they will have rolled for before. And I love that because you have that sort of sense of trying to get people to see your point of view or whatever. And if they say your word, you can move your talisman to one step closer to the voting thing, because you have that power, you have that connection, because you're almost on the same page. And I just interested about the secret words. Like, was that something that was always in mind when you and Edie were sort of talking about it, or like, how did that sort of come about?
It was always about the ritual itself, and the magic comes from being psychically and emotionally aligned and connected. So that's where how the magic works. And the secret word was the mechanic in order to do that. And also practically, especially again, talking about people who aren't sort of used to improvisation or role-playing games generally, it is a way to prompt others to continue that story, to tell the story more and bring more bits in.
Yeah, no, I felt that a lot. And I felt like, because I think sometimes, because there's no dice rolls to this game, and people like having something like, oh, is it up to chance? Whereas here, it is up to you to say as much or as little as you want. And I like that coaching, that prompting to people to embrace the spotlight a little bit and to monologue a little bit more. Because I know you've obviously done a live show, there's a presumably playtest as well. How have people found that, been talking and the conversations about that? I'm guessing, well, for me, it's that something where I'm like, I will speak forever unless someone stops me. So how have people found it?
So I play this game. So in my other day job, I work as kind of in arts development, so supporting groups and community projects quite a lot, and how you work in communities and in groups and organize. And one favorite activity of mine is you sit in two concentric circles and you have to wordlessly leave one circle, join the other. The inner circle is talking, the outer circle is listening. And you just talk about a random topic, but you have to naturally do that. And that is an activity that is all about generosity in both giving and taking space and giving space. It's about having that balance of, you want to encourage other people to talk and say things, but also you need to kind of allow others who aren't as talkative to say their piece. So that's another part of the mechanics that I really love. And at times, it's really fun to play a sassy mermaid. It's so much fun. So at times I've been like, if someone's, if I've got a really gobby friend and they're just going on and on and on, I'll just be like, So is your tale told yet?
Oh God,
I feel
amazing.
like we've got a ritual to finish. So there are ways to do that. But I have also had games where actually the stories that were, conjured were so compelling and brilliant, and they needed that time. So
Mm.
actually we spread that game over 2 nights rather than a
Oh,
single
interesting.
playthrough.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was quite easy because it is in sections,
Hmm.
there's 3 rites. And then you come to, I guess, the final rite, which is a very clear 15-minute timed debate.
Mm.
And that's when things can get very juicy.
Yeah, I can imagine. And yeah, speaking of the characters as well, so you have sort of 5 pre-generated characters that sort of embody different aspects of storms and the sea and the different kinds of rage people find. So again, some beautiful artwork. How was it coming up with these particular aspects? Was there some that came more easier than others? Is there one that's your particular favorite, perhaps?
Oh gosh, you can't make me pick
I know
between
I can't
children,
make you pick between your
Fiona.
favorite mermaid children. I know, but
I think, we have the classic ones, which is the song weaver. So she is like that, like, her sculpt, her miniature is her singing to a skull on a rock. And that is so fantastically darkly feminine. But also, I wanted to play with gender a bit. So I really love Kale the Abyss Walker, who is more androgynous but is wearing this incredible. It's actually inspired by, oh gosh, I'm gonna get the name wrong. Is it Jean-Paul Gaultier, like couture
ooh,
fashion,
yeah.
show, which was very sea witch vibes,
Oh.
and it was this gorgeous black kind of ropey dress with these holes and tears, and
Mm.
it was incredible. She's got tentacles instead of a fish tail, and she's got this crown. They're kind of the character that wanders the seabed and is in the darkness. I guess romanticy referencing kind of, oh, who is that? Who is that character? The shadowy character, the shadowy bat boy.
Ooh, you're gonna
Oh,
have to.
are you too cool to read Akatar?
No, it's
You
honest.
are.
I've got, I know, no, I'm not cool. No, it's on the Audible book list. I'm so far behind. I've got such a big pile, and also when you edit podcasts, it's kind of you listen to your own voice, and you're like, I'm done now. So yeah,
I'm
so
dead. I'm not. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, it's
but speaking of my craft ladies, they're all about Akatar, so that's why I'm thinking like this is a game for them that for our next
for
craft day.
sure. It is again. It's all the for the romancy girlies.
Heck yeah.
Kale is that shadowy assassin kind of
Mm,
character. There's a reef shaper who kind of conjures. It's more the architecture vibes of conjuring.
yes.
So I think I was also thinking about what powers these sea witches might have and how
Yeah.
it might work thematically. It's almost as if you would join a guild depending on like what vibe you associate
Mm,
most with, and you can really make your own. We've got Celis, who's the whisperer, and she speaks stories and is friends with all the creatures.
mm.
And I'm always, whenever I have 5, I always forget like the last. I'm like trying to think the last one, but they definitely have distinct powers and vibes and energy.
And personalities as well. Yeah, I was going to say, Oren the Reef Shaper is such a great image. I could just visually see that as a sculpt, and also with the image you've got here of just this person sort of on their casual coral reef throne, and it's just so imposing. It was just really, really cool. Obviously, this game is beautiful and again explores these very difficult topics to people. For you as the game designer and the story sort of curator of this, what was some of the more difficult challenges or obstacles that you came across whilst putting this stuff together, if there was any? You might have been, I'm so passionate, done, like it's all there. But yeah, it's just curious if there was any obstacles that you found and then were able to overcome.
I think with any games designer, when it is narrative, is trying to give enough to the players, but not too much that they can take it away and make it their own. So it is quite unique, I suppose, where there are pre-made characters. We do have a page within the booklet to make your own characters, which
Yes.
is really lovely.
Hmm.
But it's quite, because I was thinking about the talismanic sculpt, so the miniature. So each
Hmm.
character matched the miniature. And actually, in the different play test phases, the players have gone very different directions, even though they play the same character. So I'm really happy at that level of, it's enough information to get someone inspired, but it was really lovely to see that players could take it their own direction. It really was all about conjuring emotions, how you almost like not manufacture, that sounds like an awful word, but manufacture rage, that all kind of bring that up without being too on the nose with it. And the first time we playtested it, we had this mechanic where we had emotions in with prompts, and that is interesting. That didn't work very well. Everyone was far too happy and nostalgic in like a nice way. And like, what is going on? So it's also about choosing what words came about as kind of, even though it might be something like vessel or bones or cold, they have their own connotations. And then kind of more mechanically, how easy, we started off the secret words were like a whole phrase, and that was far too difficult, and that was like very advanced RPG player level kind of prompting. So all of these things are these kinks that get worked out to create the final game. So there's loads. I mean, for me, it's all the crunchiness, and that's why I just admire rules writing and game mechanics so much, because it isn't just about making things make sense in a game. It's really it's the backbone of like maths and rules and actions that trigger emotions and trigger actions and guide a player without being there, without you're not the DM, you're not there in the game. So how do you have these different triggers or fail safes or barriers to nudge a player toward feeling?
I feel you so much on the, like, how do you prompt people? Manufactured, I agree. It's like, what is the word for it? But like, evoke those feelings for them to guide them to within the sort of framework, the vibes, as it were, rather than going like, I don't get this. I there's a clash there. It's really difficult, and a lot of solo games do this as well. But that's when you're just one person, and obviously that's very easy to interpret what your emotions are because it's you. But then if you have, as you said, like a GM-less game, someone's anger may be very different or manifests very different to someone else, but you want to make sure you have the way to prompt them to get to that level, whatever it is. It's very difficult, and I think it's interesting to see it done here in a beautiful way, and also not having the facilitator go like, okay, and what do you think? And what do you like? It's encouraging everyone to take that ownership and to like needle things out, because as you said, these questions could be like, it could be like the sassy character going like, oh, you're always blathering on about that sort of thing. Like, why is it so important to you? Or, but also it's a way to like, oh, I want to clarify, because I don't see that kind of fear or sadness or envy or emotion. Like, how do I get through that? So yeah, I found it really interesting on, like, as you say, that to have it so, again, I'm very bad at words today, but like neutral, but like also a very basic framework, but everyone, that accessibility for everyone, regardless of their experience in role play, in improv, to just go, and whatever they did, it's going to be amazing because you have this whole supportive coven behind you. On the flip side of this question, then, what is something about this game as you were designing it that just brought you absolute joy? I know obviously we're going to go to crowdfunding and all that sort of thing, but is there something about the process as you were sort of developing it that you're like, oh, I look forward to doing this every day?
Oh my God, just how like seeing the game being played. Like, I know that's like such a simple thing, but I think for a games designer, it's, you've been ruminating and you're like, is this going to work? Even, I'd play tested it at home with friends and different people, but oh my gosh, performing it at the Tate was absolutely terrifying. It was in front of Ophelia, kind of the Parapholite painting, and she is so iconic. She's in the lake, she's drowned, and she's this beautiful calmness of, these awful things have happened to her, and she went absolutely kind of mad, and her release was kind of that release of life and that peace that she has. There's you can go into so much detail about the history of that painting and how perfect it was for the context of Siren's Oath. But yeah, seeing that, oh my gosh, that actually works with people who don't know me and haven't played the game before. And there's really compelling, beautiful stories that have come out of this. So seeing everything click together is total magic. And I'm so proud. And I think, I'm glad that I wasn't sure whether to do a whole massive RPG or even a skirmish game in itself. I think it was really wonderful to be able to test the concept and process in a kind of really beautifully packaged, like one shot form. Can you do that? Can you evoke all these things and this passion and this excitement, these stories within one shot? And I think we've done it. We've managed to do it just about. So I'm really proud about that. But also on paper. And like, that's such a silly thing. I'm obsessed with paper. So talking to printers and paper manufacturers has been an absolute bloody delight.
Wow.
Feeling them, like, so we're having beautiful artisan kind of GF Smith paper stock dust cover that's glittery and die cut. And yeah, I mean, I could go on, but seeing the game being played is wonderful. It's the best feeling in the world.
That's awesome. Well, and it sounds like as well, obviously, a beautiful setting for that live show as well, in front of a video where I think hopefully everyone in the room knew more about it than Taylor Swift does on her new album, I'll be honest.
Yeah, I'm surprised I haven't listened to that yet. I need to get on it. I need to know those references.
Yeah, well, I think you will know them better than her, to be honest with you. The Guardian was not so kind to her, and I was like, what? So I too had a quick lesson and gone, cool, I will come back to it. I'll circle back to it. But, and yeah, just to speak about, I love it. I know it sounds so nerdy, but like just being excited about paper and about the creative process. God, what a life we lead. Like to be like, this is the coolest thing, and just being excited because then you are producing physical art in this world. And I can imagine once it's all out, just having a copy of it going like, this is my physical game, and you can put it on the bookshelf or the coffee table or seeing it in game shops. It's just such a cool thing, because obviously you think like when people produce books and stuff like that, it's like, oh, that's something so separate to maybe what you're doing, but here's like an actual product that people can have as well. So
yeah, I've actually, one thing that's good to mention is that Sirens Oath is part of GameFound's RPG party event. So there are 20 or so other RPGs that are launching at the same time. And so we formed our own little community, and it's been really interesting over the last couple of months leading up to preparation. That tension between wanting to keep things affordable and accessible, but also wanting to create something beautiful. And I think a lot of tabletop RPGs really kind of sell themselves short, I think, by not going for the materials that they know will really make the game. It's like you've gone through all this time to create this art. So print on lovely paper, like go to a nice printers, give it that honor of that creation, and they're increasingly with AI slop coming out, and it's saturated, more and more and more. And I think do more with less. I think it's the way that we'll survive and be able to honor our creativity if we do try to create beautiful things as accessible a price as we can do it. But I'm also very pro, artists got to eat.
Yes,
artists got to eat.
You die from exposure. Like we are going to give them a proper wage, and like even more so for some of the like gorgeous art. Like I always bang the drum of like, I love this artwork. I want it on a T-shirt or a poster or a bookbox. I love being surrounded by art. Obviously, I appreciate the audience can't see this. I'm not in my normal space. I always record these things in my cupboard, but where I normally sit at my desk, it's behind us all beautiful RPG artwork that I'm like, I have my own little gallery. I again, just seeing behind you as well, similar to that, where you just all the pictures behind you, because I want to be surrounded by this things that I love and give me positivity. So when I'm working, I can feel that energy as it sort of shines off from all these different artists.
Exactly. And it's all about the experience. And so one of the things about the game as well is all the miniatures are hand cast in white metal, really honoring that lead belt legacy of where we're from in Nottingham. But there's something alchemical about it being in metal.
Yes.
So it's something that is beautiful. Even in painted, I think they look fabulous on kind of that altar cloth. And this idea of the altar cloth being something that's wearable and, a scarf. I've been really getting to bandanas lately.
Oh my God. That you spoke to, I love getting cloth maps. I never use them, but I just like, that's very cool. I would put them elsewhere. So yeah, I instantly like wearable art. Absolutely. That's what I want to do. So, amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Wingshan, for coming and talking to us about the game. My final question for you is, where can we find out more about Sirens Oath? Where can we go and support it if people are like, great? And yeah, do you have anything else upcoming in the future that we would like to know about?
Yeah, so Sirens Oath will be launching on GameFound and My Mini Factory Frontiers for those with 3D printers. We are actually also launching a painting competition with a free Kelpie STL on Canvas, which is My Mini Factory. So do take a look at that. And the Sirens Oath Live at Tate Britain full video will be launching at the same time on those campaign pages. So you can kind of see the magic that happened on the night. And in terms of coming up, oh my goodness, let's just get through this one first.
I hear you so much. Yeah, I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. But as I said, I am hoping for more mermaid sea witch goodness.
Heck yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much. Best of luck with the crowdfunding campaign. I'll put all the links in the show notes as well. And yeah, I look forward to watching the live show as well. I can't wait to see the beautiful setting that you guys were in. And so, yeah, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Fiona. It's great to be here.
I'm hoping to do more of these special Q&A bonus episodes in future, including Q&As on the one-shots we've run here at What Am I Rolling? If you have a question or think of a game designer you'd like to see interviewed on this podcast, just let us know. Our email address is whatamirollingpodcast@gmail.com. And that's it. Great. See you next time.
Do you want to listen to one person stumble her way through improvising an audio drama through the medium of actual play? Roll by Myself is a solo actual play where I, Sharik Manet, craft a story by playing a different solo tabletop role-playing game every month. Here's 3 out-of-context clips.
How are we supposed to know if we're all suddenly criminals or not?
Everybody died. I'm sorry. Do I have to do content warnings for this show? Fuck, I'm so scared. No. Wow, weren't those funny and or emotional? Find out more on my website, shahik.com. That's shahik.com. Or just look up Roll by Myself on your favorite podcatcher. That's ROLL by Myself.